If you have ever stopped scrolling social media, and I mean physically froze to stare at a tiny, fluffy dog, you know the feeling.
Absolutely.
Or maybe your own adult dog tilts its head and gives you that melting, that puppy dog look.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly how powerful that charm is. But these dogs aren't just cute by accident. They are, really, the result of thousands of years of evolutionary engineering.
And it's engineering driven by our own instincts.
Exactly. So today, we're going beyond just, subjective feelings of cuteness. We're doing a deep dive into the science of why some dogs stay puppy-like forever.
We'll be looking at the big versus the small, fluffy dogs.
And their really intense care requirements. And then finally, we'll examine the ethical side of it all.
Because the very traits we find most irresistible, well, they often come with a profound health cost.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the evolutionary psychology behind that melting puppy gaze.
What's so fascinating here is that the scientific foundation for that charm, it has a name. It's called neoteny.
Neoteny.
It's basically the Peter Pan principle, but for dogs. It's the retention of juvenile puppy-like physical and behavioral traits right into adulthood.
So we're talking about selective breeding that ends up with a dog looking and, I guess, acting like a permanent toddler.
Precisely. And this phenomenon is what fundamentally separated domestic dogs from their ancestors, the wolves.
How so?
Well, early on, humans just selected for dogs that were easier to live with, less aggressive, more manageable.
Right.
And unintentionally, we ended up selecting for these juvenile traits because they triggered our own innate response. It's called the Kinshin schema response.
That's a great piece of jargon. Can you break down Kinshin schema for us?
Sure. It translates roughly to baby schema. It's an evolutionary instinct that we share with a lot of mammals.
An instinct to do what?
To protect and care for creatures that has youthful features. So large, round eyes, a big head for their body, a compact frame. That impulse to nurture is really what cemented the dog-human bond.
So we are basically hardwired to respond to these features. What are the specific visual markers of neoteny we see in dogs?
We see a few classic physical ones. The large round eyes we mentioned, they maximize that protective response.
Right.
Then you have floppy ears, which are highly juvenile. I mean, think of almost any puppy.
Right. Wolves have cricked ears.
Exactly. Retaining floppy ears into adulthood is a clear sign of neoteny. We also see shortened muzzles, rounded foreheads, and of course, often a smaller overall size.
And it's not just the hardware, right? It's the software, too, that persistent puppy personality.
Oh, behavioral neoteny is absolutely key to the relationship. It shows up as this persistent, often really enthusiastic playfulness that lasts well into the dog's senior years.
So they never really grow up.
In a way, no. They keep a high dependence on humans, they're incredibly sociable, and they show way less aggression and territoriality than wild neotenes. They stay psychologically open to training their whole lives.
I want to spend a moment on what has to be the most powerful tool in the dog's arsenal. That puppy dog eye gaze. You mentioned they evolved a specific muscle for this.
I could.
Are you telling me that dogs actively weaponize their eyebrows for better adoption rates? Because that sounds like some next-level evolutionary marketing.
In essence, yeah. They evolved a really sophisticated communication tool. It's a specialized facial muscle, the levator anguli oculi medialis, or eleome for short.
That sounds incredibly complicated for just lifting an eyebrow.
It is remarkably specific. The eleome allows dogs to consciously and intentionally raise their inner eyebrow.
And when they do that?
Humans overwhelmingly interpret that movement as sadness, vulnerability, or a direct plea for care. And studies show that wolves rarely, if ever, make this movement. It's a trait that evolved after domestication.
Okay, so here's the aha moment for you listening at home. Actual research in shelters proved that dogs who use that lower muscle more often when a potential adopter walks by,
They are measurably more likely to be adopted.
it's a literal survival strategy.
And it works because of an oxytocin feedback loop. When a human and a dog look at each other, both get a release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone.
So the sad eyes make us feel good.
It deepens the connection, yeah. The human feels rewarded for nurturing the creature making the appeal. It's a beautifully calibrated survival tool that strengthens the bond every single time it's used.
That's just a staggering evolutionary trade-off. Companionship cemented through eyebrow manipulation. Okay, so we've seen how dogs manipulate us with their eyes for survival, but when we translate that impulse into actually getting a dog, we realize cuteness isn't the only factor. You have to deal with the sheer fluff.
Yes.
And if you're considering a companion, you have your big fluff balls and your tiny fluff balls, and their needs are wildly different. Let's start with what you call the big fluff factor.
These are the majestic, gentle giants, and they are a massive commitment. Take the Samoyed, for instance.
Known for the Sammy smile.
Another neotenous trait. It looks like perpetual happiness. They're from Siberia, so they have this incredibly thick white double coat.
I imagine brushing a Samoyed is less of a chore and more of a full-time job.
You're not far off.
Yeah.
We're talking brushing 2 to 3 times a week, minimum. And you have to be prepared for heavy seasonal shedding.
So your house just becomes a cloud of white fur?
It can redefine your life, yes. And they are highly active, so they need a lot of daily exercise. Plus, owners have to budget for potential health issues like hip dysplasia and cataracts.
And then you have the true water-loving giants, the Newfoundland.
The Newfake.
Yeah.
Incredibly patient and affectionate. They've truly earned that nickname, nanny dog, for their gentleness with kids.
But they must need space.
A lot of space. They can't be happily cooped up in a small apartment. And they really thrive with access to water. Swimming is essential for them. But this gentle giant quality often comes with a hard truth.
A shorter lifespan.
Typically only 8 to 10 years.
That's a huge emotional cost that needs to be factored in. You also mentioned the Great Pyrenees.
A bit more reserved. They're calm guardians. They need moderate exercise, but are happiest in spacious homes where they can, fulfill their protective instincts. They can be independent thinkers, too.
Which means training can be a challenge.
For first-time owners, absolutely.
Okay, let's pivot to the other end of the spectrum. The apartment-friendly fluffballs. The small dogs with huge personalities. What are the trade-offs there?
Well, you see high neoteny expressed in a much smaller package. The Pomeranian, for example. Tiny, energetic, a literal fluff ball.
Great for apartments, I'd assume.
They are. But that density of coat requires daily brushing to prevent painful mats. They can also be quite strong-willed, so experienced owners are often better equipped to handle their training.
Then you have the low-shedding options, like the Bichon Frise.
Right, the Bichon is a cheerful, playful dog, often recommended for people with allergies because they don't shed much.
But low shedding doesn't mean low maintenance.
Not at all. Their hair just keeps growing, and it must be professionally groomed every 4 to 6 weeks. You're basically trading vacuuming for continuous vet and grooming bills.
And what about the famously regal Shih Tzu?
The Shih Tzu, or lion dog, adapts well to apartment life, makes a loyal lap dog. They have that gorgeous, luxurious, silky coat.
Which needs a lot of care.
Daily brushing and face trims to keep the hair out of their eyes.
Yeah.
Plus, they can be notoriously stubborn. House training can be a difficult long-term commitment. That's a major lifestyle cost right there.
Before we move on, we have to talk about the breed that just defines balanced appeal. The Golden Retriever. They just dominate universal adoration.
They really do.
And I suspect it's because they retained that cuteness without some of the more extreme anatomical issues.
That's a really perceptive observation. The Golden Retriever consistently tops popularity charts. They have a staggering 81% positive public opinion, and they're viral icons on platforms like TikTok.
So what makes them the benchmark for companionship?
Their success is really in their balanced neoteny. They have high behavioral neoteny, the gentleness, the playfulness, the intelligence, but without the severe physical exaggerations we're about to discuss.
And there's an emotional component, too.
Crucially, yes. They have high emotional intelligence. They can sense when their owners are stressed or sad, and they respond with comforting behavior. This mix of dependability and empathy makes them elite therapy and support animals.
They seem to embody the best aspects of the human-dog bond.
They do. But even a balanced dog needs commitment. They need at least an hour of vigorous exercise daily to maintain that joyful temperament and their health. Their charm is rooted in that perfect blend of youthful spirit and dependable maturity.
Let's focus now on the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, the CKCS. They seem like a perfect example of a highly neotenous, affectionate, but maybe slightly more delicate small companion.
They are. The CKCS, named for King Charles II, are famous for their sweet, gentle, and really adaptable nature. They're often described as Velcro dogs.
Velcro dogs.
Because they thrive on companionship. They want to be physically close to their owners pretty much all the time. They crave that emotional connection, which makes them superb companions for children and seniors.
So their neoteny is expressed largely through their extreme need for human connection.
Exactly. Their patient disposition means they can adjust instantly to apartment living. But because they're so sensitive and people-oriented, they do not do well being left alone for long periods.
So if you work 9 to 5 outside the home...
A Cavalier is probably not the right choice for you now.
If a listener owns a Cavalier, what other breeds would pair well with them in a multi-dog household?
Well, because Cavaliers are natural peacemakers, and they're rarely dominant. They integrate really well with other mild-mannered breeds.
So similar temperaments.
Ideal companions would be other friendly, similarly sized dogs, like the Bichon Frise, the Havanese Shih Tzu, or a toy or miniature poodle. Even a gentle golden retriever can work well as long as the size difference is supervised at first.
And which breeds should a Cavalier owner maybe approach with a bit more caution?
You'd want to avoid overly assertive or high-strung breeds. High-energy terriers like a Jack Russell or intense herding breeds like the Border Collie, they can really stress the sensitive spaniel.
Their energy is just too much.
Their controlling or demanding demeanor just doesn't mesh with the Cavalier's calm, gentle temperament.
And here is where it gets really interesting, because we move from the inconvenience of, say, shedding or stubbornness to the core paradox. We're talking about extreme neoteny. The very features that we as humans find most adorable, the giant eyes, the smushed face, often create severe health risks. And that raises profound questions about ethical guardianship.
This is the critical tension in modern selective breeding. The relentless pursuit of the baby face aesthetic has resulted in what we call the brachycephalic crisis.
And that refers to the flat-faced breeds.
Exactly. The pugs, French bulldogs, Boston terriers, Shih Tzus, Chow Chows.
Brachycephalic literally just means short head.
Correct. The muzzle is shortened to maximize that infantile look, but the fundamental problem is that while the bones of the skull and jaw are shortened, the soft tissues, like the tongue and the soft palate, stay the same size.
And that compromises their physiological function.
Profoundly.
This leads directly to BOAS. That's brachycephalic obstructive airway syndrome. We need to stress this isn't just adorable snoring. This is chronic, low-level suffering.
That is so vital to understand. BOAS is a syndrome caused by anatomical abnormalities, primarily stenotic nears, which are severely narrow nostrils, and an elongated soft palate that just flaps into the throat.
Restricting airflow.
Constantly. This causes chronic issues. The noisy breathing you hear is literally the sound of a dog struggling to adequately ventilate itself.
So they struggle to recover after any activity, which can lead to fainting and often requires surgery.
Absolutely. The symptoms include exercise intolerance, gagging, difficulty sleeping, and a severe disruption of just a normal life. Surgical procedures, like a rhinoplasty to enlarge the nostrils or shortening the soft palate, are frequently necessary just to ensure a baseline quality of life.
But the French Bulldog is the most popular dog in America right now. Are we saying millions of people are unknowingly making an unethical choice by prioritizing aesthetics over function?
We are simply reporting on the facts of the source material. These dogs have a major welfare disadvantage, regardless of their popularity. The most immediate, life-threatening risk is heat vulnerability.
Because they can't cool down.
Dogs primarily cool themselves by panting. Since brachycephalic dogs pant so inefficiently due to limited airflow, they are at an extreme disadvantage in high temperatures. They face a vastly increased risk of heat stroke.
And that can be fatal.
Often requiring hospitalization or, yes, leading to death.
And the problems go beyond the respiratory system because these exaggerated features affect their entire physical structure.
They do. The shallow eye sockets cause their eyeballs to protrude. This makes their eyes vulnerable to trauma, to ulceration, and in some severe cases, they can't even fully close their eyelids to keep the cornea moist.
What about dental issues?
The shortened jaw means their full set of teeth are crammed into a tiny space. This causes severe overcrowding and an increased chronic risk of periodontal disease.
We also hear about spinal issues.
That's also related to selective breeding. Breeds with those, charming, coiled, corkscrew tails like pugs often suffer from abnormally shaped and misaligned vertebrae,
Causing pain.
significant spinal pain, and neurological issues later in life. Even those deep facial wrinkles, the adorable skin folds, they have to be cleaned daily to prevent bacteria and fungi from causing constant skin infections.
So owning one of these highly neotenous breeds, while it can be incredibly rewarding because of their personality, it demands a level of conscientious guardianship far beyond the average dog owner.
It demands an absolute commitment. Owners must be prepared for the financial and the time cost of that commitment.
What does that look like day to day?
Daily cleaning of skin folds, annual vet exams that focus heavily on oral health, and strict weight management. Because even 5 extra pounds severely worsens BOAS and puts immense pressure on their compromised joints.
So the joy of ownership has to be balanced against the dog's right to just breathe comfortably.
The dog's absolute right to anatomical soundness and comfortable breathing. Yes.
That's a powerful statement. Okay, so we've covered the evolutionary science of neoteny that makes dogs look like puppies forever. We've talked about why certain breeds, like the empathetic golden retriever, dominate in popularity, and the really serious welfare considerations for highly aesthetic breeds like the brachycephalics.
Mm.
So, what does this all mean? I think it means the bond between us and dogs is deeper than we thought, right? It's rooted in evolution and intentional selective breeding to appeal directly to our protective instincts.
He is.
But that biological charm is a powerful currency, and we have to be vigilant about the responsibility that comes with prioritizing looks over health.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a really important question for you to mull over.
Okay.
Since dogs develop the ability to use those puppy dog eyes to elicit human care and increase their chances of adoption, does the sheer volume of social media adoration for the most extreme, highly neotenous breeds suggest that, in the age of viral content, humans are now selecting for cuteness so extreme that it actively compromises the dog's ability to simply breathe?